Hello and welcome to Transformative Travel. I'm your host, Gary White, and with me today, as usual, is my wife, my fellow traveler, co-host, Ellen Aviva. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Gary.
And we have a very special guest today, our friend Marie Joao. Can you tell us a bit about her?
Oh, I'm so excited that she's agreed to be on this video conversation and that we can interview her. Maria Joao is a friend, lives in Sintra, lives near Sintra, and is an extremely knowledgeable guide to the magic and mystery of the Sintra area. We've had wonderful excursions with her, and she has a lot to share. So we're really happy that she's willing to be interviewed for this.
And there's her Facebook page. And
the other one is Serra de Sintra Tours, which will come up on a banner across the bottom later. And here she is with some of her tour people in her vehicle, which was so impressive, this huge 4x4 that has a exhaust pipe that goes up the front so that she can actually go underwater. I mean,
that was we'll ask her about that. Okay. Hello, Marie.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Hi. Welcome, and nice to be here with you talking. I'm here to talk a little bit about Sintra and to answer your questions. So please tell me.
Well, I'm going to start by asking one question. We saw that you lead tours, and I know you lead night tours in the hills. You lead walking tours, and you led one last night. And
yes,
I'd love to hear something about it. It was from the Capuchos Monastery that you'll talk about later, and up into the hills.
Yes, so I do walking tours at night in Sintra since 2012. But before that, doing that as a tour guide, I already did it with my family, with my friends, with my daughter, because I always had the passion for Sintra, for the mystery of Sintra, for the energies of Sintra. So that's not when I start to showing as a tour guide, it was already part of a thing that I love to do. So Sintra has a lot of history and also mysteries. So at night it looks like the nature and everything is more alive. So you can maybe communicate more with the small entities like the fairies or the guardians of the forest. And because not many people walk at night in Sintra, I think that's one of the reasons that people like to come to the visits, to the night tours, because they can stay in the magical place on the nature, listening about the history. Yesterday I started with the convent of Capuchos. For me, the most mystical place in Sintra. It was founded at the 16th century. And the monks, they lived here like eremites, isolated by everything. So I start to talk about it. And who knows if the monks or their spiritual intentions, if they are still there looking for the forest and keeping that special place.
You took us on a daytime, very short walking tour in the woods behind that are part of the Capuchos convent grounds, and showed us magical, huge boulders and strange markings. And it was just really quite special. Um,
Yes.
so we've sort of leaked into this, and we talk about that in our book on Magical Sintra, Powerful Places in Sintra. So I think I've sort of started as sort of somewhere in the middle. So maybe we should start back at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you are a tour guide and you are extraordinarily knowledgeable. I say you must have lived there in a past life because when we drive with you, you know everything. You know just all these details about who owns what property and where the water flows, and it's just pretty impressive. And you say you've been doing this as your profession for more than 10 years.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah, yeah.
More than years, yes, because I worked at the Portuguese television, RTP, but I left it at the time. I think to move to England, but that did not happen. I came to Sintra to make the logistic of the travel because my daughter went to England and she studied there. She made a degree in archaeology in London. But when I came to Sintra, I didn't move from here. I didn't want to leave Sintra anymore.
I know that
So
feeling. Yeah.
I start to make my life here. Um, and I think that I did with pleasure, showing Sintra to other people. Uh, I start to do it as a profession. So uh, I, I live where I like. I do the job that I love. So everything that was a big change in my life. I
Ah,
don't regret what I did.
well, your
um,
love for it shows through when we are with you.
yes.
Yeah.
So I love to read the history, to know to whom the properties belong, um, to look for the hidden places inside the mountain. I also love to do my own explorations on the mountain alone, um, making new walking tours for different places, and make the connections with the history and. Um, the history and what it was Sintra in the past. It's something that I like to wonder because Sintra it's a sacred mountain. You had two apparitions of the Virgin in two extreme places at Peninha, a sanctuary, and also at Pena Palace, because the primitive part it was a place with hermits living nearby. And first, there was also an apparition at the old part where you had the monastery from the 16th century. So the red part, it's the old part of the Pena Palace, what is now the Pena Palace. Um,
And this
and
is sort of a 19, I'm going to interrupt. This is sort of a 19th century confection that was
yes,
built
the
upon
yellow
the
part,
ancient, the old ruins of the monastery where the
yeah,
apparition of the Virgin occurred.
be-
Yeah.
because the religious orders they were abolished, they were extinct at 1834. So after that, um, the palace was bought by Fernando, that became Fernando II of Portugal, Saxon Coburg and Gotha, and he rebuilt the monastery and also built the new part, the yellow one, and all this complex became the Pena Palace. But what I mean is that you have different sacred places in Sintra, because also at Peninha, sanctuary of Peninha, there's also a legend that says that a beautiful lady appears to a little shepherd, and she made a miracle because the shepherd she was mute, she started to talk, and also an image of the Virgin Mary appeared on the rocks in the place where the beautiful lady appeared to the little girl. So you have special places, and also on the middle of the mountain, um, there's also where you have the
I'm going to
resistance,
interrupt. This is a view
the
down
great
from Panina, which
yes,
has this amazing view of
yes,
the Atlantic
right.
from on top. And boy, that's a powerful place. I hope we'll be with you there tomorrow. So, okay. So
Yes.
you were saying, and then also,
There's also on the middle of the mountain, there's also a sacred place where you have a rabbit with two ears. So that's the rabbit. And here we think that there was also a worship to the mother goddess. There was an English investigator and the historian, Jane Gilbert, at 1983. She was here and she found the rabbit. At that time, they talk a lot about it. She wanted to explore the site and to make a place where people could go and see, because it means that from very old times that Sintra was worshipped as the mountain of the moon, and the rabbit is also the symbol of the fertility. So with the two apparitions of the Virgin and this rabbit on the middle of the mountain between uh, the other two special sites, so I think Sintra was really special at the past, at prehistorical times.
So
You took us to the rabbit, which is not on any of the tourist bus rides. It's back
No.
in the woods, but
you
it's
have to
really
know where to
quite
go.
spectacular.
You'll have to contact Maria Joao. I mean, you can hire her to take you there and other places. They're quite wonderful.
Yes.
So the Mountain of the Moon, which is the mountain that we're on, Sintra Mountain, Serra de Sintra, which is where the
Yes.
town of Sintra is, and where we're living, where we're talking to you, and you're living on the mountain at
Yes.
Penedo.
Penedo, yes.
Yeah. And so the mountain, and we talk about this in our book too, the mountain, it was called the Mountain of the Moon, the Monte de Lua, in
Yes.
Roman times. I mean, it's been known to be associated with the goddess of the moon, with Diana, with ancient
Yes.
goddesses from long before the Romans even.
Yes, because the moon was worshipped in Sintra when was full. There was rituals in ancient times to the moon when the moon was full, and that this came, we don't know, from prehistorical cultures, because there were found small half moons in graves in specific places. So the moon was like also a protection for people that use it. And since the Phoenicians, they were also here, and they also had rituals and probably a sanctuary also on the promontory, maybe Peninha. Maybe there was also a cult to Baal, because there's a temple called Saturnino, San Saturnino. Maybe that temple was previously a Visigothic temple, and before that, maybe a different one, another place that was Christianized.
That's the Tholos. Yeah, there
Yes,
you go. That's it.
yes.
That's just
So
below the Peninha Sanctuary that
yes,
Gary
it's from
showed.
the Promontory. Yes, but it was built where there was a previous temple.
Aha.
And Saturnino, he was a bishop from the 3rd century, and he was chased by the people at that time, and he was sacrificed by a bull. Yes, and it's very interesting because nearby you have the forest of the bull, and you also have the forest, the river of the bull. So there are a lot of connections from ancient times and maybe different cults, because the bull was worshipped by the Phoenician, for an example. So there are a lot of connections from what we have today and worship, a Christian bishop, and what it was there in the past. So it's
So often they built Christian buildings or temples on pagan sites. They claimed them.
Yes.
I think Pope Gregory the Great in the 600s or something wrote a letter saying to all of the bishops saying, take over the pagan places of worship and the pagan dates, because people are used to that. They're used to worshiping at those places and on those times. And so if you can Christianize them and Christianize the places,
Yes.
then people will continue to come. So I remember being at San Saturnino because when we were up at Panina and we climbed up to the top of the sanctuary, I was just terrified. It's a long story, but it was just the wind was blowing and
Yes,
it was
it's very
just, I
windy.
was just shaking from the energy of the granite mass that it's built on. And then we came down to San Saturnino, to the ruins of what was a hermitage, 12th century, I think. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
from the 12th century,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we got inside and it was like peaceful. It was, I mean, the place is a wreck because I think it was used as a barnyard or something much more
Yes,
recently.
it was a
Yeah.
barnyard. It looks like a ruin nowadays.
Yeah, but it was
Unfortunately.
just, we were inside and I said, this is good. This energy is just so peaceful.
Yes,
And
that's true. It's a beautiful place. And nearby, you have huge boulders, big boulders, granite, and granite has some radioactivity. So the center of the mountain Sintra has a lot of granite, big boulders. So um, maybe like this Anta or Dolmen, Adrenunes. It's very interesting. It's like it's a mix of natural stones, natural formation, and made. Because they found on the erect rocks, they found some wedges. So and maybe and also the stone that they put on the top, it's laying down. You can see that was put by human, not it's not natural. So this is a place that it's located near Cape of Roca, and maybe they did rituals to the moon or to the sun here. They say that at the summer solstice, the sun passes through the dolmen and will come out from the other side. So a lot of people go there at summertime.
For the sunrise or the sunset?
For the sunrise.
Okay. And that's easy walking distance from Panina?
Yes,
from the sanctuary? Yeah.
there's also a walking tour. It's pretty close. It's not difficult. We have 3 different ways to go from Peninha to Adrenunes. And from that Adrenunes, you can see Peninha also.
Wow.
It's a place that maybe in past times rituals were made here because the direction it's for the sunset and for the moon. So old cults, they were for the moon and the sun. They were like god and goddess, and still they are still for some people. From some cultures, they are still gods. And also at Vigia, so on the direction of Adrenunes, more or less, you have the temple of Vigia. It's an old temple from the time of the Romans.
Hold on a second. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
It's overlooking the Praia de Maçãs, right?
That's correct.
And it's an archaeological ruin that there you go.
First, it was a sanctuary built by the Romans to the sun, to the moon, and to the ocean. And later was used by the Muslims, and it was a riba. So it was used in different times. And I think all the area nearby needs more excavations because I think they will find more. It's more to be found.
It's actually on a cliff face with the ocean pounding below. You can't quite see that from here.
There's the entrance.
You can't just walk out to the beach. It's high up, so it was a place where it was sort of like a lookout, which is.
So you have the beach nearby. At past times there was no beach. It was the ocean that would come, and it was the boats could come inside. So Also, the Vikings, when they were here, they came from this side of the ocean, this part of the coast. And on the other side, you have another prehistorical monument, like you have in the Sintra Mountain. It's a Tolos, da Praia das Maçãs. And you also have on Sintra Mountain, you have the Tolos do Monge. It's nearby the convent of Capuchos. And it's a funerary monument with a false dome.
We
With a
were
fake.
there. We were
You were there.
there. Yes, thanks to you. I mean,
Yes,
I
and
walked up there from Capucho's, and to say it's near is true, but it's straight uphill for, I think, either a kilometer or a mile. It felt like forever.
So
And it's
it's-
under archaeological
yes,
reconstruction.
it's in the
Well, you can see the
renovation.
plastic on the ground there.
It
Yeah.
looks like just a mess, but when we were there, when I went there the first time, walking and got there and expected absolutely nothing, it was just full of energy. It just was. I mean, I was just really blown away by it. I didn't expect anything. That's the big geodetic marker that's off the road, and then you go behind it. But I
Yes.
was just like, what is this place? I mean, it looks like a mess, but it had so much power. And its location and when it was built, what, 5,000 years ago? 4,000?
It was built between 2000 and a half or 2300,
Mhm.
and it was used at the Chalcolithic time and was used again later at the Bronze time.
So a reuse of a sacred place.
Yes,
Yeah.
sacred place. So there was Sintra had the different occupations in different times. So it's very interesting. Excavations nearby were not made, but I think it will be interesting to excavate or try to find more in Sintra Mountain, because I'm sure they would find something.
Marie, what is the
This
oldest that they have found on Sintra Mountain? What's in the Sintra region? What's the oldest settlement?
you have Santa Eufemia, so you also have
Okay.
a prehistorical settlement, and also at the Moorish castle, you also have prehistorical settlements.
So 7,000 years old, something like that.
They found a ceramic
That's the
pot
Moorish castle. That's the Moorish
at the
castle.
Moorish castle with 9,000 years, and it was almost intact. So they put it together, and it was all the pieces when they joined on the pieces. So they had all the pieces to put it intact at the Moorish castle.
So
where you
that the
have the
picture, I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. Move back just one shot, Gary. So, because for people who don't know, Sintra, the town of Sintra, is built on the hillside, basically below these wonderful mountains, wonderful monuments like the Castle of the Moors, or like the first photo that we showed that was Pena Palace. Those are up on the hill, and that whole thing is the Serra de Sintra, the Monte da Lua, the Mountain of the Moon. Here's another view of the town, looking at the hillside. Then, when you talk about Sintra, it's both a town, and an old town and a newer part of the town where we live, but it's also the sort of municipality. It covers a much bigger region than just the little town that is here, and it's just a magical place, as Marie is explaining. And then
Yes.
you had a photo of what were you showing, Gary?
Santa Euthymia.
Oh, okay.
Santa
Yeah.
Eufemia.
Yeah. And this is where you were saying that there was an archaeological dig near there.
Yes,
that
nearby the church, to the right side of the church, they did some archaeological excavation. And here they used to say that it was where Sintra started or born, because they found a very old settlement, but also near the Moorish castles. And also near Santa Eufemia, you have there was some sacred or holy waters that could heal people from skin problems or eye problem. So it was also a sacred place. And nearby on the left side of the church, there's also on the rock, there's a mark that people say that is a footprint from Santa Eufemia.
Oh,
Uh,
really? You mean if you go up to the overlook that has the big cross on it? Is that where
yeah,
No,
that
it's
rock is?
beside the church, isn't it?
on the left side of the church, there's
Oh,
an
that's right.
entrance
Inside there,
with
just in the
fence.
foundation, there's a little grate, and there's
The footprint you can see
yeah,
from the exterior, from the outside.
yeah. It's
Uh,
to
Yeah.
the left there. Yeah, yeah.
Behind the steps that you can see from here.
Yeah, it's just
Uh,
so interesting because so many of the ancient sites are located near water, because
yes,
fresh water would be something so
yes,
important
also
to ancient people.
yes, since old times, the water, it's a sacred place. It's renovation, it's protection, it's purification. So the water is very important. And the places where you have the apparition of a virgin, normally there's a spring water, that comes from the land, because water also makes contact with the other world, because the water conducts well the energies, like
Hmm.
conducts electricity. It
Hmm.
can also propagate other kind of energies. So water can put us in contact. It's used also to by the seers to see things from other world,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
uh, water can connect you to other dimensions, to other beings.
Is
The
there
fair,
water? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it's okay, sorry.
No, no.
Um, they are connected with the springs, with the fountains, with nature, um, because it's a special way for propagate energy and the elementals.
So my question is Panina, is there a well or is there a spring? I mean, I'm saying a
The,
well, but we mean a
yes,
spring, a natural spring. Is there a spring near San Saturnino
there's
and
a
Panina?
fountain um, a little bit forward,
Uh-huh.
um, near. It's down the
Okay.
hill
Okay.
nearby. There's a ancient fountain there, and
Ah,
maybe in past times there was also some stones nearby San Saturnino, and I think it was a well there between the rocks.
mm.
There's a hole on the rocks.
Oh, I've
Uh,
seen that. There's a big boulder and the top
yes,
of it is scooped out a bit
yes,
as
uh,
for water or for offerings or something.
yes. There are some stones nearby San
Hmm.
Saturnino that
Hmm.
it looks really like a well. And you have the fountain of Romeiros. Um, it's people used to go there. It still have water nowadays. And at Peninga now, if you visit, they also have wild horses
Wild
near
horses
Peninga
at
Gardens.
Panina?
Yes, at Peninga.
Oh, oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
it's
wow.
interesting to visit.
So, and that's where the sanctuary is in back. The yellow
Yeah,
building in front is a pilgrims, I
yes,
believe,
it was
pilgrims housing from when it was a major
yes,
pilgrimage site.
because until 1905 there was a lot of pilgrimage to Peninha. People would come from Cascais, from Eugarias, Gigarós, small villages nearby, but also from Mafra. So people would come to make the processions. There was a mass outside for everybody, and there was a recreation uh, of this cult, this Christian cult, at 2001. It was very interesting to see people going with the horses up to Peninha to
Oh,
make the
wow.
recreation of
Wow.
what it was done in past times.
And the building that we see in front in that photo that Gary's been showing is a building from the early 1900s that was built by the same
Yes,
guy as
Carvalho
um,
Monteiro.
the
Uh,
Regalera, the Quinta
yes,
de Regalera. So very
Monteiro.
esoteric and lots of
Yes,
mystery and
yes,
magic associated with it. Can you
yes.
say more about that or about?
Yes, there was before this new building, this recent building, there were three rustic houses nearby, near the chapel, near Peninha Chapel. But later, Carvalho Monteiro owned it, and he built what we have now. And after him, he didn't had more interest, so it was bought by um, a lawyer, Rangel Sampaio. He was the owner for a long time, for a long period. After him, he didn't have any children, so we left the Peninha to the University of Coimbra. Um, and later, um, it was at the time that São Saturnine was used as a barn and for
Mhm,
animals inside here.
mhm.
Yes,
That's just down the hill from Panina.
yes,
Just yeah.
exactly. Uh, After that, passed to Cascais and to Parques de Sintra, Monte da Lua. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
And it's closed. You can't go
It's
into
closed.
the
They put
either into the sanctuary or into
the sanctuary
or
is
into the
closed.
building. Yeah.
The building that looks like a ruin, so you can go there. All the other buildings are closed,
Mhm.
um, but they already put a new door because it was not in good conditions, and I hope that
Ah,
they will open it soon for people can see the chapel, the one on the
yeah, I
top.
would love to see it. I've read about it, and it
Yes,
sounds amazing.
yes, it has a beautiful tiles with
Mhm,
the scenes from the life of the Virgin Mary.
mhm.
So it would be interesting that people could visit. Uh, it's a beautiful place. It's very strong, and
Yes,
not moving the energy, but it's very windy on the top near the
yes.
church. It's really windy.
As you
Uh,
said, Gary, there was nothing stopping the wind blowing across the Atlantic until it
yes,
Yes,
hits that
I,
building.
I felt like I was facing the wind all the way from the United States coming in there.
yes, because Cap de Roca, from there you can see Cap de Roca.
Yes.
You can see the lighthouse. And if you cross the ocean at the place where you have the lighthouse, you will be in America, in Washington, D.C. So that's why. So,
And Cap de
uh,
Roca, for those who don't know, is the most westernmost point of land in
point,
the whole Eurasian landmass. Not just Europe, of
yes,
course, because it's all attached, but it's the most western point.
yes,
Uh, it's and there is a report of an apparition there too that I read about the Virgin showing up and a little boy fell
a little
down
boy
down a
that,
hole next.
yes,
Yeah, and he was fed
eh,
carnation soup by this lady in white.
yes, that's true.
And
Yeah,
the villagers decided that was the Virgin from Panina
from
saving
Peninha,
him. So
yes.
another apparition. There's a lot of goddess
A
stuff
lot,
going
a
on
lot.
here.
Why Sintra it's so special. It's a sacred mountain.
Hmm.
So that's why maybe some people nowadays want to make different cults connected with the Brazilian magic, but I think has nothing to do with the Sintra mountain, and I think they should not do it because they are doing it for personal purposes, not for worship the mountain um, all the special place. Um, so
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you and add to that because when we went the first time, when I went to Capucho's, I think. Anyway, I saw this offering near the base of a tree in that area in the woods near Capucho's and the Tholos de Monja and stuff, and it was flowers and uh, I don't know what it was, cornmeal or something, and the taxi driver said, "Don't touch it," and I wasn't about to, but I've been told that people find all kinds of offerings and
yes,
this kind of thing, including not such nice things,
and
left behind in the woods, and that's what you're talking about, right?
yes, because sometimes people nowadays we don't see it so much, but they used to sacrifice also animals like goats or chicken. So
Mhm,
I
mhm,
think they should not do it such kind of things, um, because
hmm,
for reasons, not because only of the mountain, but that is cruelty. I think if they
mhm,
do it, it's not for a good reason, and they should
mhm.
not do it.
But they
Um,
also are, I'm in total agreement with you. I think this is an example of how the energy of the place
yes,
draws
because
people
the
to do
energy is so
things.
strong, they want to use it for different purposes.
Mhm,
Um, because the energy doesn't know good or wrong, so people can use the energy for whatever they want. But I also believe that Sintra Mountain has its own will. um, Sometimes there are places where we can go, and the place, it's okay, we feel well, we feel nice, but in another day maybe the that place could be closed for the people, and people cannot feel well there, because I think all the mountain has their own spirit, and a special will that will not allow people to stay in some places, and in in different in special in specific times.
Oh, that's
um,
fascinating. So tell me more about how that relates to the goddess presence, because you've got all these apparitions,
because
including Santa Euphemia and including the Virgin Mary, and the apparition that led to the building of Capuchos too, of
yes,
angels. And so, is this a manifestation of the energy of the mountain, or can you just say
uh,
more?
I think maybe there's a spirit, or there's a reason for the for Sintra Mountain, a specific reason. uh, um, so there are different manifestations, but I think especially when it gets foggy, it's like the mountain, it closes itself for people, and the mountain has its own magic. And because this mountain, it's a feminine mountain, it's connected with the moon and with the fertility. So Sintra, it's also like a womb. So inside, what is germinating, what it's inside the mountain, because there are a lot of tunnels of underway passages. If you see it from satellite, it looks like a you can see the holes inside the mountain. So
Oh, wow.
um,
And
there's also legend.
this is more than the water,
Yes,
the
it's more
water
than
tunnels and the
it's
minas.
more than
It's
water.
But it's more than
Um,
that. It's
there's a
tunnels.
lot of entrances
Uh-huh.
in on the mountain, all over the places.
And who
Some
made
were
them?
closed.
Who built them?
uh, some tunnels and some passages. Maybe they are from the time of the Moors, like at the historic center or the National Palace. Then the National Palace at the city center. So it was first the court of the Muslims, and later became the palace of the Christian kings. In different times of our monarchy, they built different parts. So the old the oldest part is from the time of the Moors, that they occupied Iberia at the 711, but the palace so maybe was built around, the primitive part was built around maybe the 8th 9th century. So the most recent part is from the 16th century, from time of our king John III. And here there are also a complex of tunnels. Some make a connection all around also to houses that we have it nearby the palace, and also to the Café Paris and the Adega das Caves. That tunnels were known as the tunnels of the Templars, because the Café Paris and the Adega das Caves were houses that were given to the Templars in Sintra, to Gualdim Pais.
Huh.
And he was a Templar. And he was the one that founded the city of Tomar. So, and you can see,
Which
I
is
did
center for, which is the center for the Templars in Portugal.
they
Correct?
started about the here about the 12th century, as they started also.
And
We were actually staying in a hotel in the old town, and their wine cellar off the restaurant was the entrance to one of those tunnels, and we have been
in
actually
Sintra, yeah,
inside
Yes,
that tunnel.
yes,
yeah.
I know that tunnel.
So that's a
But
whole nother story, is the Templars and
not
their
yet.
history in Sintra as well.
Yes, because our king Afonso Henriques, our first king, gave him a lot of lands in Sintra, because the Templars they helped to reconquer Lisbon to the Moors. So there are a lot of properties that were given at that time to them. And the tunnels, they come maybe from that time or from before that, because a lot are also water mines that you have, because the population need water for everyday life. But some are really tunnels. But it seems that a lot of them, a lot of passages, they were closed uh, on purpose by the militaries and by the government, or by the mayor of the town hall, for
To keep
people
people from wandering into
yes,
them,
people
or
don't go inside and don't go there.
we talk
Uh,
about those in our book. We talked to you about that, and you gave us a
yeah,
lot of information and showed us entries to places
yes,
that we
and
then wrote about in Powerful Places in
yes,
Sintra.
I
Yeah.
really recommend your book, because I think it's very well written and done and very well structured. So I really recommend your book if somebody wants to come to Portugal and visit Sintra. I think it's a great guide.
Well, and we recommend you as a guide. So we're a
Okay.
mutual admiration society here,
Right.
which is quite wonderful. Should we? I'm looking at the time. We've talked for almost 45 minutes. We haven't. I don't. Let's see. When I look at the list, there's Montserrat and there's Regaleta
Yes.
that you haven't shown any pictures of, and the Wolf Cave.
Yeah, tell us about the Wolf Cave. That would be
Okay.
interesting.
It's interesting because it's the Wolf Cave. People call it Wolf Cave, maybe because in past times, the shepherds will be on the mountain, and maybe they saw a wolf there, because there was wolves in Sintra Mountain until the 19th century. There were deers, there were bears at the Middle Age.
Oh,
So
wow.
now it's completely different. But this natural cave with granite, it's massive. The blocks are
Wow.
really, really impressive. This is that photo is from a night walking tour.
Where
And
is that I mean, just sort of in general, is
the rabbit, it's
the
Oh, so
wolf
also
it's near
cave?
the
Oh, it's near the
so it's
rabbit.
near the rabbit.
near the rabbit. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Aha.
There's a curiosity, because for some Indians from America, from North America, they say that the 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 rabbit, for them, it's like their god. It's their god. And the wolf, it's the brother of the rabbit.
Oh,
So I found very
huh,
interesting this
huh.
connection between the rabbit and the wolf. And because they are so, the wolf cave, it's so close from the rabbit. So and the wolf, it's also connected with our ancestors, and the cult of fertility too. So
Mhm.
I found interesting to make a night walking tour at the Halloween time, showing these places, and also some water mines, because it's what you have inside of the mother earth. And take people to see the rabbit and the wolf cave, because the wolf, it symbolized protection, and also fertility for some indigenous people. Also, a symbol of fertility. So
Mhm.
we can find a lot of connections in Central Mountain. It's very
Yeah,
interesting
these
to
water
read.
mines, I mean, I kept hearing about them, but I didn't have a good sense of them at all. And then when you showed us a number of them, they're a way
Yes,
that the water, that the moisture and the mist and the fog in the
yes.
mountain of Monte de Lua is then channeled and sort of harvested into these man-made minas or tunnels that then draw the water through and bring them out to different locations, and they belong to different land, uh, different quintas, different.
Yes,
Isn't that
there's
right?
a private properties. Yes, at least until before 19th century, and until 19th century they are their own water at the mountain, and the water would come down with the force of gravity to their properties. So there are a lot of mines on the mountain that you can see. I'll show you the Tapada de Fonte Velha, where you have the waters that goes to Regaleira. So
Mhm.
you saw that it's a big complex of mines that they have there, and they excavate
It was
to get water. It's amazing.
just
Um,
amazing. I mean, some of them we
but
could
that,
walk into,
yes,
and the
yes,
water would
there's
accumulate and then be channeled down
channel
the
down to,
tiles. But there were others
yes,
where you look down. We sort of we'd open the door and we'd peer down and down far below, and you think, how did they do this?
yes,
What a
yes.
major
It's
excavation!
amazing
What a
work,
major engineering!
and yes, that's true. And uh, that the waters from Regaleira, they were bought to Pinto da Fonseca, the owner of Quinta do Relógio. So we had a really big complex at Tapada do Moco, Quinta da Fonte Velha. So all the properties had their own water.
Ah,
That's why one of the reasons that you can see so many entrances also on Sintra Mountain, so many
mm,
tunnels.
mm.
Even King Fernando at Pena Park, he opened about more than 80 water mines to have
80.
water from the Pala. 80.
Wow, wow.
So
Should
So,
we, since you've mentioned Quinta de Regalera, should we show a photo or
I'll
two?
show.
This is a place that keeps showing up on
yes,
Netflix and travel programs because of it was even on a recent episode of The Curse of Oak Island because they're visiting Portugal. And there is this inverted
it's the
tower or
second most
well.
visited. Yes, because there's something unique. It's a well with about 30 meters of depth, and people can walk down with the staircase.
An
It's
internal winding, spiraling staircase that goes
a
down,
spiral,
down, down from a high point way down and opens up
the
into
bottom, yes,
tunnels, more tunnels. And it's quite an amazing experience.
and it was
This is
used
the main building there,
yes,
right? This is the
yes,
house,
this is
the
palace.
mansion. Uh-huh.
That well was maybe used for rituals for initiations because when you go down to the bottom even of yourself, you have to die for the past, for the old things that you lived to can restart again. And when you pass through a tunnel to the light, it's like a rebirth. So you go down inside Mother Earth, and you pass through the tunnel. Uh, it's a symbol of renovation. Like when you are at the convent of Capuchos, you have the one entrance that it's the entrance of the dead. So when the monks entered in through that passage, they will die for the old life, and they
Oh,
will. That's over there. You can see there's a skull and the crossbones on the top of that entrance. So they will die
uh-huh.
for the ancient life, and they will rebirth to a new life for spirituality. Um,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah,
very, very
Capuchos is,
interesting.
and we have two things. It's Capuchos is also called the cork
The cork
convent because
convent,
the
yes,
walls are covered with the natively produced
yes,
cork.
and
And it's very
also
small. It's tiny.
very narrow, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's me walking down one of the
Okay.
passageways.
and you can see the doorways into the individual cells are, maybe 3 feet high. Uh,
Yes,
it's
yes, they
quite a powerful place.
the capuchos. It's the way back to the primitive order of Saint Francis of Assisi.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they would live according to the nature in the they would build their accommodations around the rocks that already existed there. And there's also a legend about Capuchos that our King John III, he had a vision at the place that you have now the chapel. So under a big rock, he felt asleep. He was chasing and he felt asleep. Um, and he had a vision of a lot of angels that were worshipping the Holy Cross. So Capuchos, it's the convent of the Holy Cross. It's interesting. Also another sacred legend connected with this space, with this area, and you have also another legend with the monk with Tolos do Monge that it's pretty close from Capuchos. You have to go uphill. At Tolos do Monge, there's a legend that a monk went there and sit there at Tolos, and he had a vision of a city from another world.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
became people start to call it Tolos do
Yeah,
Monge.
that's the Thorst de Monge that
Tolos,
we were talking about that was
yes,
under
the prehistorical
under
under
archaeological construction. I know when we walked into the Capuchos convent, you have a ticket. There's a road where you can park. There's a gate. There's a ticket office, and then you start walking in, and you could just feel the energy shifting, and it became
yes.
peaceful and serene and very very different energy from it. I mean, you go to Regalera and it's kind of buzzy, or you go to Paint a Palace and
Yes,
you're surrounded by
yes. Here
people
is very
trying to get
quiet.
through. It's just poof. But this place has this inherent stillness to it, and
Yeah,
maybe from all of the deep prayers and religiosity of the monks who were there for a couple of hundred years, or I don't know what it is, but it's an amazing location. Yeah.
that's true. But you have another palace, Montserrat. It's also here. It's a specific place, a saint like a saint place. But Montserrat, Palace of Montserrat, it's also very quiet. At Pena,
There it
it's
is. It's so
busy.
beautiful.
You
It's
have a
so
different.
beautiful.
But here it's also quiet, and the gardens are also beautiful. There was a chapel built here at the 16th century, 1540, dedicated to Our Lady of Montserrat. That's why
Who's
now we
who's
call it,
Catalan.
yeah, Catalan.
The I think priest who built it
A
had been to
priest,
Catalonia and had
Gaspar,
been,
Gaspar Preto, he
yeah,
went to Barcelona, so he became
yeah,
devoted of the Black Virgin that you have at Montserrat. So
Montserrat.
when he
Yeah.
came here, he built a chapel in honor of her. But that chapel was destroyed by the big earthquake that happened at 1755.
And this
So
beautiful confection was basically built as a summer home, right? By
yes,
the
it was a
owners.
summer retreat. It's like the English side of the mountain because um, the first person that rented the land to build here a palace, a neo-Gothic palace, was Gerard Wiesen. And he rented to William Beckford, an English writer, poet. He also lived here. But later, Sir Francis Cook went to Sintra to spend his honeymoon with his wife, Emily Cook. They stayed at Santiago Quinta, that is nearby, and there was a walkway to Montserrat. So when she found the place and the area, she loved it. So he decided to get the palace for her. At the beginning, the palace was rent, but later was bought by him. So when he made the renovation, he gave the Gothic, the Arab, and the Indian style. The
It's
domes are Indian style. He had
it's
business in India
beautiful.
with fabric, so um, gets wonderful. People say that some people say that looks like a small Alhambra because all
Yeah,
the decoration that you have outside and inside.
it's
Um,
it's it's beautiful and so
yes,
simple.
Park Sintra, they make the restoration, and
Mhm.
it's beautiful because the palace was closed for a long time, and now it's possible to visit inside, and the gardens are really beautiful.
And there's a
It's
cafeteria if you're hungry.
there's a cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm looking at the time and I see that the one thing Gary hasn't shown, I think the one thing you haven't shown that the inverted tower, the well at
Oh yes, the
Revelera.
Oh,
Carolina.
yes.
So
Yes,
Let me see
we
if I
talked
have
about it,
that.
but we didn't see it.
yes,
And
we
as we
didn't
draw
see
to
it.
I mean, we could talk for hours, Maria Joao, and maybe we'll invite you back again. Maybe if people have specific questions, we can get questions together for another visit. But meantime, is there anything you'd like to say while Gary's looking for the?
I don't think I have a photo
Oh,
in
okay.
here for
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay.
Okay. I think you should come to Sintra to feel for yourselves what we are all talking about it, to feel the special places, the views, to feel the energy of the mountain. This is not a huge mountain, but it's in the also the location. It's very special, near the ocean, near Cape of Roca, the westernmost point of the European continent. So there were cults to the sun and to the moon, to the stars since old times. And to feel this feminine, this
Yeah.
energy that you have at Citra Mountain.
I'm
Sometimes
And
it's
showing
very fog.
I'm showing the center this
Centra
tours,
de Sintra Tours at gmail.com is a way to connect to Maria Joao, and she can customize a tour for you if you're interested.
and she can
Um,
take you to the places that no one else knows about.
yeah, yeah. And if you want to walk, she can customize a tour for taking you on a walking tour. I mean, she took us to some amazing places that we had to hike into. But she also has this wonderful 4x4 vehicle that will, that you can take snorkeling if you want to. and just for a quick sense of this, and Sarah de Sintra Tours is also her Facebook page. So there is her vehicle, is Mitsubishi. And just to give you a sense of this, we are only 10 miles. We're in Sintra. We're on the side of the mountain, and the mountain is about 10 miles long, or 14 kilometers, something like it. It depends on who you listen to.
But it's all up and down.
but it goes straight out west to the ocean. But we're only basically 10 miles from the Vigia, the place with the Roman temple, to the sun and the moon and the ocean. These are not huge distances, but people mountain bike some of it. They hike on the trails in the mountains, and you can take public buses that take you to a number of these sites, or you can. Okay, there's one of Maria's Facebook pages, but she has another one that is the Facebook page for
the private one.
Sarah de Sintra Tours, correct?
That's the Gmail.
But it's also a Facebook page.
The Facebook page also.
Yeah, it's also Sarah de Sintra Tours.
That's that one.
Yeah. And then there you go. There it is. Yeah.
So contact Marie Joao, and she can tell you and take you to amazing places here.
And if you have lots of questions, we can compile them, and if she'd be so good as to come back again for another interview, I know she has a lot more stories to tell about magical experiences and time slips and strange magnetic anomalies and things like that on the mountain. So until next time, do you have anything else to say, Maria, or we should just say goodbye?
No, I think it's okay. So
okay, and don't forget our book on powerful places in Sintra. A lot of that is we consulted with Maria Joao and made sure we were accurate in what we were saying as much as possible. Any errors are our responsibility. But that might be a good place to start as well, just as she suggested. Thank you so much. It's been a delight to talk to you again. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for a private tour.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.